Greetings, adventure travelers and fellow keepers of the lake. How are you all doing? Welcome back. If you're here, I would assume that your volume 1 of Crown and Skull has started dividing and now you have two of them. Don't worry, this is just a normal thing in the Crown and Skull's life cycle. That's what they do, and I can for sure say that you can expect even more. You will have up to 5 volumes of this wonderful book. So, as last time, I will be making a couple of these videos going over all the changes and new additions in this book. There will be a couple of videos that are oriented towards the player guide and what has been added there, and then we will have a couple of videos that are related to the GM's guide. Of course, my feedback on how all these play out will be available when I've actually played through the content in this book. But for now, we'll focus on these. If you haven't already read the book, I don't want to spoil it for you, so there will be no spoilers and no flair. That is something that you have to read yourself. We will be focusing on mechanics and rules, everything you need to know to play content from this book, even if you haven't had time to really sink your teeth in.
Now, from here on out, mind your feet, dear viewer, as we're entering the Age of Dragons.
Sweet little dragon. As we've discussed in the previous series of videos, Crown and Skull is player first. This means that everything that the GM can somewhat outsource to the players should be outsourced to the players. Players and the GMs are, after all, sitting around the same table, and there should be camaraderie and trust between them. So players can now safely look at dungeon information, but they should skip the atlas and enemy portions of the dungeons. It should simulate that the characters are already somewhat rooted in this world. They are aware of interesting dungeons and places where they can maybe find treasure or adventure. So what are some other things that you can find in this book? Well, there is a whole lineage of dragons, their family tree and how all of them behave, and the legends and rumors about them. There is a ton of lore about very interesting dragon types, not just these differently colored dragons, but all kinds of dragons. There is also a lot of dungeons, and of course, as with many of these books, you will find a bunch of random tables at the end of the book. More interesting loot, more people to meet. And there are some tables that we'll talk about in the GM guide that are very interesting and cool for developing a dynamic battlefield. Now let's go back to this for a second, and before we talk about the player aspect or the GM aspect, we need to look at the intersection. There is some very useful advice in Crown and Skull when it comes to interacting between the GM and the players, and that is to negotiate things, especially these things. So let's see how this works. Let's say a player wants to negotiate a deadly attack. They can say, okay, I want to forgo all my defenses for the next round, but make this specific attack fatal. And the GM might decide that this is a worthy enough sacrifice to let them do it. Also through roleplay, if they are yelling at their master and stabbing him from behind, that might be also a deadly attack. And why this is important? Because GMs shouldn't say no without listening to the players. They shouldn't say no if it's not in the rules, because a player that is ready to negotiate is a player that is engaged. Another thing is, players might ask, can I try something? Even if they don't have a skill, they should always ask if they can try something. Maybe they roll and they crit. What happens if they crit? Maybe they find a way to do this action and succeed without doing it through a certain skill. It is important to always ask. It is important that there is always communication between the players and the GM, even if something is not rules as written. Everything here is up to the GM and the players to be interpreted and bent for their own table. As a final note on GM focus, consider using a dramatic and glorious approach to character death. And I mean, let's face it, losing a character is rough, but a masterful player handles this moment with wit and heroism. So, what can we do? Well, a player that is taking a hit to the heart can choose to use one skill to its utmost, to its ultimate form, treat it as this character pushing all they have into that one role. Another thing that they might do is use an item. So if you have a magical item, use it to its utmost potential, to its supreme power and form to achieve a certain goal, or they might choose to inspire someone. With their last word, their last breaths, they can choose one ally and grant them a free crit, or a boost, maybe a lesser boost to everyone that is involved in that conflict. Just try to make it meaningful, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, now let's focus on the players part of the rules. Well, we have some new things there. We have new abilities, new skills, and new character templates. And if you're not familiar with what all this is and you have come this far into the video, well, thank you. I love that watch time, but you can probably click here. No, YouTube doesn't do that anymore, sorry. You click, well, somewhere around here, and we'll be waiting for you to finish that series first. Okay, I think that's enough waiting. So, some of the new skills will be explained in the next video, but for now you should just get a taste for it and hear how insane some of these are. So there is now black powder and firearms, there is also dragon riding, understanding dragons, understanding starships and technologies. Well, you heard me right, there will be starships and dragons in the same book. That is amazing! And when it comes to core abilities, well, they range from being outright a gnome to being made of metal. So some of these require narrative work to actually acquire them. And when it comes to dragon riding, not everyone can just come and venture to the dragon and decide that they want to ride it or they will be eaten by the dragon. No, the dragon must choose them. Why? Well, probably some distant and mysterious empathy for mortal kin. Also beware, dragon riding is not really an easy thing, as you can see. And to even engage in most basic riding of a dragon, a rider must have a dragon riding skill 10 or higher. It's worthy to note that purchasing this skill is usually done on that first hair-raising ride where you're clinging for dear life. And yeah, it's purchased as any other skill by using hero points. Riding a dragon can, of course, be used as transport. So with a successful skill roll, a dragon mount can move up to 10 times the walking speed over any type of terrain. Up to 10 hexes in one flight, basically. And no more than 2 riders can ride a dragon, which is evident from this situation. And of course, if you have been chosen by the dragon, you probably have some form of connection, so this dragon will actually serve as a combatant as well, and I will put the stats of it somewhere on the screen for easy reference. But beware, dragon riding brings a lot of attention, wanted and unwanted.
In the Age of Dragons, knowing many pearls of the growing evil, an alliance was proposed between the dragonkind and mortals. To bind this oath, a relic was forged. The Dragon Crown. Within a year of its making, the powerful Dragon Crown was lost, and the alliance with it. And now dragon skulls have become an ugly bounty.
As an adventurer of note in the North Holds, you may be appreciated to recover, find, or secure the Dragon Skull.